Move that to the side. Your paper today is going to be landscape, so it's going to be sideways and wide. Please let me know if you need me to slow down. Okay, so the first step to drawing this image is we're going to draw the shape of this fawn or baby deer. And the first thing that I notice is probably the top, this nice curving down shape. It's not like many usual pictures where the fawn is standing and looking at you. I feel that's a little boring, so we have an interesting composition here. So we're going to start with the top. Just sketch really lightly. And if you're sketching with the colors, sorry. If you're sketching with the colors, pick a very light color to sketch with. So not black, but maybe try pink or yellow or peach. Any of these colors is good for sketching. Okay, but let's begin. I'm going to start at the top. You can start wherever. So I'm making a mark. And this is where I want the top, oh my goodness, the top of the deer to be. So that's the highest point of our object. And it's just going to come sloping down. And at this point, this is the top of the shoulder. So if you can see, it curves and then it kind of stops and bumps a little bit here. So that's where we know that the shoulder is there. You can just draw a subtle little bump to show that part of the anatomy. Then you just want to bring it all the way down. Not too long, or else it's going to start looking like a giraffe. So one way to help you is you can measure using a pencil or a ruler and then compare the length. So I'm measuring the end to the shoulder and then measuring again to see how long the rest of the deer. So actually the neck is very short for measuring. Yep, right about there. Because the head itself is very long as well. Okay, we have the top. I'm going to ignore the head for now. Then come down to the side and draw the back of the legs. And don't forget the tail. It's a very small, short shape. And at the very end, this bone is very sharp. If you can tell, I think this is the pelvic bone. That's just very sharp. It's almost got an angle to it. So first, the back of the legs curve that way. Yeah, when I'm drawing, I'm looking at where these important points are. Important points are where the line starts to change direction. So over here, we have a bend in the leg. Right, it's moving this way, and then now it's moving this way. Where to put this point? If you look on our image, we can compare it to other points. So point over here and point over here. Comparing to this point, the back of the deer, I know this point is to the left. Let me see if I can show you. Oops. So over here we have a point, and then we also have a point here, and also a point here. These are just, how to say it? Structural, yes, just important points. I'll figure out a word for that later. So compared to this one, this is to the left. So I know it's going to be on this side. And then how low it is, I'll compare it to this point. And I'll see it's below the shoulder. So my point is going to be here. Okay, and then now I'm going to draw the rest of the leg. And it's not that long. Because once again, if you compare the points to each other, this is all relativity. Oh, we can call them anchor points. Anchor points. The distance from the back to the middle to the bottom is about the same. So you can compare that on your picture as well. Okay, and then now we're going to draw the bottom part of the animal. At this point, I'm going to draw the underbelly. Because this, if we get this right, it will help us a lot with the other parts. So this line over here, you can ignore this leg for now, because we will be painting or coloring over it. So don't worry about any line overlap. And it's a roughly, think of it in shapes. The neck is a cylinder. Okay, and if you think of the body as one whole shape, I can outline it. Maybe it'll be easier to see. This is kind of the shape of the horse, or not the horse, the fawn. And if you can squint your eyes, so squeeze your eyes and look at this image, you can isolate this part of the animal, making it a little bit easier. Because when we look at a picture, it sometimes feels too complicated. But if we can break it down into small shapes, then it will be easier to draw. Okay, let me get rid of that. And now we're going to draw the neck part. So if you remember, the shape is kind of like, almost like a bat, baseball bat. And don't worry about the ears. I'm going to draw the head now. The head has an interesting shape. It sticks out on this side and then goes to a point. And I'm leaving this empty for the ears when we connect it. So I just did this part. I skip this, and then I start from the head. The bottom of it is kind of a straight line with some curvature to it. Okay, now that we have most of the body drawn, we can start adding in the legs and the details. So when I mean details, I just really mean the external limbs. So the legs, as well as the ears that are sticking out. So these are almost vestigial, the extra parts from the main body. So let's draw the extra parts. I'm going to start with this leg, connecting from the bottom of the belly all the way to this point. And it's not as sharp as the back one. And it kind of just curves down. Oh, and at this point, I realize I may have made the legs a little too short because I forgot to compare it to the tip of the head as well. So I'm going to move it a little bit lower because in the image you see the bottom of the foot is quite close to the bottom of the nose. Okay, and if you're ready, we can move on to the other legs. So this one in behind, I'm going to draw this line first. It's just coming out from the same point under the belly, so not too much work there. And then the back of the leg is a little bit below or to the left of this line. So you can imagine if this line were here, then the leg would start about here. Okay, and then we're going to do the front legs. If you can't see it yet, I'm not sure what this is called, but the leg actually starts at the shoulder and you can't see it very well on camera. But it's almost like its elbow is here. And it's actually quite close to this point. So I would even start it around here. And then do the second leg behind the front. It's about the same thickness, but a little bit thinner because it's in the back, and things that are in the back are smaller. And then do the ears as well. So once you're done the legs, move on to the ears, and that will be the last thing we draw before we color. And the ears are not too long. You can compare it with the rest of the head. It's got quite an interesting shape to it. The top part is mostly straight. Then when it comes down, there's a slight bend. And then the other ear is over here.
Hi, dear.
And you may also notice that the ear, it curves in, the flap of the ear comes in and creates this shape. I can outline it for you if you want to see it a little bit easier. All right, and when you're done the ear, we can draw in the eyes. That'll be the last step. For the eyes, it's kind of just a round circle, but the edges are pointed to accommodate for the corners of the eye. And it starts pretty low on the head, not too high up and not too low. It's quite close to the edge of the face. Okay, and whenever you're ready, we can start coloring. First, we're going to, it's a good thing that the animal is mostly just one color, brown and orange, so very warm tones. For the fawn, we're going to start with orange and brown. Hopefully we all have these two colors. Okay. You might also want to grab your peach, but that's for later. So just brown, orange, and peach. It's a very light pinkish orange color. Okay, we're going to start. I'm going to start with my brown, actually. So let's start with brown today. And you just want to apply a light coat of brown for the entire object. But pay attention. Do you see these very bright areas? That's where the sunlight is hitting through the fur, and it makes it look yellow and white. So try to leave these areas empty. I'm going to start with the top left and then work my way down. And I'm just lightly shading, not too hard, just lightly. You're gonna see how I left a little bit of white space on the back over here. Just a light, smooth coating of brown all across. And when you're shading, it can also help if you shade in the direction of the shape. So if you want, you can also go up and down. But I like to follow the shape of the parts that I'm drawing. I'm going to leave the inside of the ear empty. And also on the corner of this ear, we have a white patch. So leave that empty as well. I will explain the next step while you're finishing up the brown. So the next step is you're going to have orange, and we're going to blend the brown so we get this nice orangey brown tone. So basically mixing the two colors together. But if you notice, not all of the browns in this picture are the same. Some are darker, some are a little bit lighter. That's where the peach will come in and help us add some different values. So have your orange and peach ready. All right. And whenever you're ready, we can start to blend using the orange. Once you have blended everything, you can go back with brown. So I will go back with brown first and make the darker areas darker. If you compare, I'm going to keep this orange because it's quite similar. I'm going to darken everything else. So over here, If you can see, this area is quite dark. And the same along the top of the back. It's because the sunshine is coming in this way. Stuff on this side will be darker. So I'm taking my brown and just adding a layer wherever I want it to be darker. So over here, on the top of the leg, and then going around the belly. So the belly is kind of sticking out. If you can see that, it's a lighter color than over here. It's important to make that noticeable. And then same on the top. And all this time, I am completely ignoring the white spots because we can come back and add them later. So try to see past the white spots and focus on the brown and orange fur color on the fawn. And there's also some shadow where their joints meet and bend. It's a little corner. And down on the head as well. The head is quite dark. Some dark spots by the ear. By the top of the head. And at the bottom of the head on the muzzle part as well. Okay, and the next step is to add the bright areas. So we just did the darker brown. To lighten it, we're going to use peach and green, light green, and we'll see what this does later. So for the next colors, please have ready your peach and light green. Okay, whenever you're ready, let's start with bright areas. So there are two sources of light. Number one, we have the sunlight. So that's the one that's making everything bright on this side. And then there's also the refracted light. Because the grass is becoming very bright because of the sun, it's actually reflecting some of that light up. from below the fawn. So if you can see, under the leg, we also have some light areas where usually we think there'd be shadow. But it's important to draw these in because it helps the object blend in with the environment. So first I will take my peach color. This is a light pastel pink and orange. Very, very light. It's not white, but it's peach. So over the belly and some of these underbelly areas. So on the inside, where you see those light areas, add a little bit of peach. So over here, let me clean it off first a little bit. Got random colors on it. Okay. You want to try to press quite hard because the pastel, we already have 2 layers of pastel on it. So it's very hard to add a third layer. If you press hard enough, the color will go on. I'm just doing under the other leg in the front as well. And actually on the back of the leg. And then on the face as well. So the cheeks and the nose. And while you're still using the peach, you can actually fill in the ear. So this one on the left, color it with some peach. We can come back in and add the shadows later, but most of it is this light color. So peach inside the ear. Make sure you fill that out. And then we just use peach. Now we're going to use green. Green or yellow, or both. I'm going to use just green and see how it turns out. So for the green, mostly just the under part of the legs. You can see this area is quite reflected. And also under here where the green is going up and then illuminating the bottom of its legs. But mostly just here in this corner. Let me clean it off first. It's just barely noticeable, but it makes a huge difference. Because now it looks like there's the light coming from underneath the fawn. Just along the edges of the leg, you can add a little bit of this green. Not too much, just a little bit. Under the head and neck as well, actually. Okay, and then once you have added the green, point to where I added it again. Once you've added the green, the next step is to use black and just draw in the eyes. Yep, but the green just goes underneath the legs to show that refraction of light or reflection of light from it, the grass below. And grab your black, and we're just going to draw in the eyeball. Nothing too special, just a round little dot with some corners. And I'm just pushing it on so I know where my marks are going instead of drawing it all in one go. I'm stopping and looking back to see that I have the right shape. Not making it too big or anything like that. And then next, After you've drawn the eyes, right now we're just doing the little details because the last step is to do the background. But now let's add a little bit of definition inside the ear, on the outer ear over here. So right now it's just peach, pretty normal. And that would be this color, the fur. The white fur is exactly this color. But there's also the skin that's behind it and it's peeking through. So for that, we can use brown and then later pink. So I'm taking the brown and just carving in those dark spots, leaving some of the peach so it looks like there's actually fur. Okay, and whenever you're ready, the next step is to draw the background. Actually, wait, I think I forgot the dots. So before we do the background, let's draw in some of the dots. So now we're going to pick up our white pastel. And if it's kind of muddy like mine, you can take a paper towel and just clean off the extra. Okay, and then now that it's clean, we're going to try and press a little bit harder than usual because sometimes the white won't show up. And just do a test dot like that. And just add a few dots. There's actually a pattern, but don't have to focus too much. Just a line of dots going down to the neck. And then push in this direction. If you're done with your white dots and the patterning, we can now move on to the background. So for the background, we're going to need a couple of different colors. Black, green, and yellow, just for now. So black, green, and yellow. So I usually don't use black for the background, but I really want to bring out the brightness of this highlight over here and also these other highlights. And because none of the other colors are quite dark enough, I will be using black just to really make these brighter areas pop because we want that contrast. So take your black and we're going to start at the very top and just shade like how you would with any other drawing material like pencil or charcoal. I'm leaving a little bit of white space on the edge. You can also do that if you want, but I'm not pressing all the way down. You can still see some white spots in between. But just go fill out the corner, and I like to jump around the place. So bear with me here. I'm not going to go all the way across just yet, but I want to focus on outlining the object as well and making sure that I am getting all these highlights. And you can also radiate outwards instead of coloring inwards. And then I'm going to drag it across, do the same thing. Over here, leave a little bit of highlight on the top of the deer. So notice I'm leaving the tiny line of white in between. There's no really any right way of which direction to shade. Just fill it in. And then also go around the ear as well. We don't want to end up outlining the whole shape because down here it starts to get really light and there is no black in the bottom. Oops. So just on the upper half of our image, we're going to add that black. You can separate the image, the background, into two parts. This is where all the black is going to be. Then down here, we'll have our yellows and greens. So you can almost split the image into these two chunks. So the top part will all be black. Well, not all, but there will be black in the top half. A little bit in the corner over here. I'm just going to make the top part a little bit darker. Just this top little piece. Okay, and when you are done with the black in the background, switch it to yellow now. And we're going to fill the bottom half of the background in all yellow as a base color. Yeah, I forgot to mention, what we're doing right now is we're adding the base color of the background. We can always come back with the greens and then blend it. But first, put the base colors down. Okay, and I'm going to start adding the yellow. So any yellow will work just fine. I'm going to clean it a little bit. Not that it matters too much. In fact, we actually want the random colors inside the grass. So I'm going to take my yellow and just go all the way across the bottom. And just fill it all in. This time we're pressing really hard. We don't want any of those holes. And remember to take short breaks to make sure you're not injuring yourself from holding a pastel for too long. I'm trying not to blend the two colors just yet. Great. So now, um, let's wait a little bit. I'm going to talk about the next step. The next step is we're going to play around with different colors. So we have light green, dark green, and blue. We're going to add these colors kind of everywhere throughout, sprinkle them in and see how it turns out. But right now, just worry about filling all of it in with yellow. So we have the highlight and we have the shadow. Now we're looking for the in-between tones, and that'll be our yellows, our greens and blues. I'm just creating a test strip on the side over here to see the different color combinations that we could come up with. So ignore this, but I'm going to show you guys later. Actually, that's not bad. Okay, so I want to show you over on the left side, I created this color swatch. So the base is yellow, and I tried few different colors. So blue made this combination, and we had light green, which created this light green. And then we used dark green, and this is the color that came out. I think for the shadows, I want to try using blue because it has a depth to it that the other two don't have. Because in blue, we have that cool tone that makes the yellow green already. It gives it a much more realistic color, I feel. We can definitely use these two as well, but for the shadows and the grass, let's use blue. Okay, so whenever you're ready, we're going to start drawing in these shadows. Just a second, my battery is not charging. I'll figure it out. Okay, so for the shadows, let's use blue. And I'm talking about the shadows casted by the deer's legs and the body. So all of these, we're going to start using our blue. We're going to start here and just sketch in that shadow, and it's going slightly downwards at an angle. And it's not one smooth straight line. Sometimes you can't even see the shadow because it's being blocked by some grass. And just keep going. And just kind of randomly place your lines because the grass is growing without pattern. Try to change up the direction of your strokes as well. So some go this way, some go the other way. Just change it around so it looks organic. Even goes sideways. So that was just all blue. And you might be wondering what to do for the background. And that would be the next step is just to use some lime green and dark green and just blend the holes so it's one smooth color. Yet right now, just get the shadows in first. I think that's very important. And there's a fun technique I just did there. So you can take your blue when you're still doing your shadows and you feel that some shadows need to be darker, but the blue is not going any darker. You can take your pastel and pick up some black just randomly. Then you see that on my pastel, I have this black dot. It's because I scrubbed it in the black. Now I picked it up and you can actually move it around and place it inside the shadow. So basically you're coloring with a dark blue right now. You can use the pastel kind of like a spoon and scoop up colors, move it around as you wish. This way you don't have to pick up a new color, add it in, blend it or whatever. You already have it on the drawing. So just pick it up somewhere else and then move it around. Okay, and then when you are ready, you can start blending the background. For the top half of the top half, so the top quarter of the whole page, I'm going to use a dark green. And then for the bottom half, I'm going to use a light green. I'll start with the light green first because I want to blend into the darkness and try not to bring the black into this bright area because that can make it pretty muddy. So I take my light green and blend the black in the top half. Just like that. And if you happen to have a lot of residue, so this is just a lot of the residue that's coming off, you can you don't have to wipe it clean. You can actually put it back in the image somewhere else, kind of like you're regurgitating the color in the nicest way possible. Now I'm going to take my dark green and blend the top half, just like how we did with the light green down here. Just blend the top half. Make sure you get those tiny little holes. And we are done.